His work is dark and gloomy. A true artist does not need to show blood, bones, or entrails to disturb. No, what usually disturbs the most is what is suggested, the uncertain and shadowy. The human being tends towards fear, towards what cannot be seen, towards the unknown. Its dark landscapes suggest an atmosphere of rather psychological terror. Hello, artists. I am Claudia Lovera. No, I am Claudia. Let me out, witch. Shh. Excuse me. Today I come to talk to you about NICOLÁS LÓPEZ, the wizard of watercolor. Yes, he is a colleague of mine. Oh, you don't believe me. What is he using here? Yes, broom. In reality, he is using it to paint as a cover and not raise suspicions so he can fly home on it later. NICOLÁS's presence on social media is shrouded in an aura of mystery, both by his works and the photographs, in which we see the artist almost always in black and white, as if he were one of his own paintings. In reality, he created a curious self-portrait in which he represents himself as a blurry and undefined shadow in a disturbing pose that evokes chills and terror, as it gives the impression that he is trapped in glass trying to escape, unable to... Wow, don't tell me. I already know who you were inspired by to lock me up here. Look at the process of the work. It is very interesting to see how NICOLÁS begins by detailing and outlining the shapes and contours of the figure, and then, with the help of his broom, of course, he shows how he distorts it until the face completely disappears. If we take a look at his Instagram, in addition to immersing ourselves in this essence of mystery, we will see how his work possesses unity and coherence, which adds a lot of value to an artist. Even the typical urban scene that we are used to seeing is infused with his essence and unmistakable style. NICOLÁS LÓPEZ was born in Huancayo in 1984, so it is logical that many of the locations of his works are situated in Peru. Even so, places become anecdotal. The crucial and significant thing in his work is the overall atmosphere and ambiance that it conveys through textures and water play. The pictorial language takes on a leading role and most of the time manages to carry much more weight than the represented place and intricate details. Here, for example, in the upper area of the work, the representation of a street and one car can be sensed, but in reality they take a back seat, engulfed by the large textural mass that predominates in the work. A whole carnival of water and pigment flowing towards the lower area. By the way, water does not always flow downwards in his works, as we are used to seeing and working. This artist is original even in that. In this work, the direction in which the water flows is predominantly to the left, which may seem quite strange to us, but in reality it flows in almost all directions, thus creating the sensation of an undefined forest with branches and roots. And again, an element in the background, the house in the back, which is defined only by the triangular roof and the presence of the window. One fact that further gives this artist an extravagant air is that NICOLÁS is left-handed and even signs backwards. In left-handed people, the right hemisphere, the one associated with creativity, tends to dominate much more. In fact, the great genius Leonardo da Vinci, who was ambidextrous, sometimes used mirror writing, also known as mirror script, and many of his notes are written from right to left. I don't understand anything here. The only thing I can decipher is the word non. Maybe if I knew Italian, it would be easier to read. Let's see, I'm going to try writing with my left hand. And in mirror writing, here we go. Well, it's not bad. I think this is the best I've done. Have to say that I practiced a little before making the recording. This is how I wrote it. And if I turn it and put a light underneath, it looks good. Nicolas' work is mostly monochrome and dark. You only have to look at his palette. Truth is, he uses more variety of brushes than colors. As you can see, in this landscape, the color black predominates, which works perfectly to emphasize the darkness of the night and the feeling of distance on the horizon. This work highlights the artist's perfect mastery of light and tonal values. Before us, in the foreground, there is a rather narrow road or path that recedes in perspective towards a city, which we perceive as illuminated, thanks to some simple points of light left deliberately and strategically. The water that the artist has let flow beneath the clouds gives the feeling of rain, and since the road is the area most saturated with light, it gives us the impression of being illuminated by the headlights of a car. Rather unsettling view. This next work draws attention because it breaks away from the monochromy we are used to, and also due to the contrast between the two colors, blue and black. As always, the beauty of the texture created by the water stands out, resembling fibers that intertwine. When the artist steps away from the monochrome, he tends to play with the color blue. I would say that this work represents some boats in the upper area, but I'm not very sure. Here, it has leaned a bit towards abstraction. Let me know below what you think. I'm scratching my nose. It itches a bit. Let's see where I was. Do you see? In this work, it is clear that they are boats, and we can appreciate what I was saying. Here, he also uses the color blue, even a little bit of what seems to be crimson on the left side. And look, the next work combines everything we are now saying, blue and black, many textures, and almost abstraction. With very little, our brain interprets and understands that in the upper area there are blue houses, and everything else is incredible textures and splashes in perspective through which depth is achieved. He is truly a master of water control, and he is also a master of large format control. It makes sense that with how much Nicolas enjoys playing with water and textures, he would experiment to the point of having to step on the paper. In this last image, we see a fascinating work. It has all kinds of textures, and wherever we look, we see different effects and movements of water. I love this work because, in my opinion, the representation of the house has just the right strokes and details. It also has a perfect balance of colors, using 4 tones: black, earth, blue, and the white of the paper. Notice that compositionally it is also very good. Light plays an important role here. We have the maximum light in white located in the upper left center of the work, the upper area that shapes the roof of the house in black, and the lower area, which is even darker, giving weight and stability to the rest of the elements. I would highlight the window as the main element that connects the lower black area with the upper one. Compositionally, Nicolas plays a lot with the empty spaces of representative elements that allow for creativity in his textures. Loves them, adores them, and that's why we adore you too, Nicolas. Look, I find this work super original. The way it hints at the church with few strokes, the trees on the right with the dragged paint, and these curious textures in the foreground that, to tell you the truth, remind me of the spots of Dalmatian puppies. And this other one has a much more common texture, but nonetheless spectacular in the sky in the form of droplets of pigment applied with the wet-on-wet technique. And look at the detail. This work could be a simple view of a village on a stormy day. It is not just that. Nicolas adds an unsettling point, as he does with some other works, including a mysterious figure that seems to be staring at us. As a great lover of textures, Nicolás López has not limited his research solely to watercolor. From time to time, he also uses mixed techniques. What he does is lay a base for watercolor in black and white. Once dry, he adds white glue, which allows him to stick this kind of sand. And then it's about playing with water. But returning to his terrifying aspect, fix your gaze on this spectacular work. Call it the Ghost Pirate Ship. This is already an explosion of fascinating watery textures. Thanks to them, it gives us the feeling that the ship is evaporating, as if it were made of a spectral and volatile material. As always, a very good perspective composition that leads us to the area in the background to the right, which also coincides with the brightest area. The little windows. The ship, also defined by the stripes of the wood and some typical supports of ships in dry dock, to prevent it from falling. These give us a sense of stability that is reinforced by their black shadow on the ground. You will see, everything I have told you so far is nothing compared to what you are going to see. I am talking about the most unsettling, disturbing, strange work. Which landscape artist thinks of painting niches?